The night was heavy on the alien world. Clouds covered the moons, and the ruined city lay silent. Broken walls stood like the bones of giants, and in the middle of the rubble, a small alien girl was left alone. Her people had tied her near the broken gates of an old fortress, her wrists bound with rough rope, her eyes wide with fear. The tribe had marched away, leaving her as an offering to the monsters that came when the night grew deep. They had called her weak, useless, not worth feeding, not worth saving. Their cruel laughter still echoed in her ears as the storm winds howled through the empty streets. She was young, barely more than a child, her skin pale with faint glowing patterns that marked her kind, her hair silver like the dust of the stars, and her eyes large and full of tears. She begged them to stay. She cried for mercy, but they only spat at her, turning their backs. Now she was alone, the shadows thick around her, and in the distance, a low growl rose. Echoing off the stone, the monsters were awake, the hunters of the dark. The girl shivered. Pulling at the rope, her heart racing. She had seen what those beasts did. She had heard the screams of others left behind. She knew what would come. The ruins seemed to breathe with the sound of claws on stone. Glowing eyes flickered in the blackness. Moving closer, the air smelled of blood and decay. Her small voice whispered, "Please, someone help me." But no one came. The tribe would not return, and no one dared to walk this cursed place at night. And yet, in the silence between growls and thunder, she heard something strange. Not the sound of claws, not the hiss of monsters, but steady footsteps, firm and human. Her head lifted, her tears froze, and out of the darkness stepped a figure she had never seen before, tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a weathered coat. A strange weapon strapped across his back, his boots heavy on the broken ground. It was a man, a human. He looked at her with sharp eyes, scanning the ropes that bound her, scanning the ruins where the monsters lurked. He did not laugh, he did not mock her. Instead, he frowned, like a man annoyed at what he saw. The girl gasped, her voice trembling. "You must go. The beasts will come. They will kill you too." But the man only shook his head, his voice calm but hard. "They will not touch you while I stand." The girl's heart thudded, confused. No one had ever spoken for her. No one had ever stood for her, her own. Blood had abandoned her, yet this stranger, this human, dared to stay. Behind them, the ruins echoed again. The monsters were closer now, their glowing eyes many, their shapes huge and twisted, hunger dripping from their snarls. The girl's lips trembled. "Why? Why would you help me?" The man pulled a knife from his belt, its blade shining in the faint lightning. And with a swift motion, he cut the rope from her wrists. The sound sharp in the night. He did not answer her question. Instead, he placed himself between her and the shadows, his stance strong, his shoulders wide like a shield. The monsters growled, circling, testing the edge of the light, their claws scraping the stone, their breath hot with rot. The girl clutched her freed hands to her chest, her small body trembling. She could not believe what she was seeing, a single man, a human, standing against the horrors that had made her people run. The first monster stepped forward, its jaws dripping, its eyes glowing red, taller than the man, heavier than 3 men. Together, the human did not move back. His hand tightened on the blade. His voice steady, low but strong. "You will not take her." The girl's breath caught. She felt her heart break from fear and hope at the same time. Was this real? Was she dreaming? Or had the stars sent this man for her? Thunder rolled across the sky, rain began to fall, and the monsters hissed, circling closer, hungry for flesh. The girl's people had left her for death, but this human, a stranger, stood between her and the jaws of the night for the first time in her short life. She felt something strange, Not despair, not weakness, but the faint spark of hope. The air grew tense, the growls deepened. The girl knew the monsters would strike soon. But her eyes were locked on the man's back, his steady frame, his unbroken will. And in that moment, she whispered, barely more than a breath, "Please, don't leave me." The man did not turn, did not look at her, but his answer came. Firm as stone, "I won't." The night shuddered as claws scraped closer. Lightning split the sky. And the girl realized one truth her people had abandoned. Her to be devoured, but this human, this lone human, would fight for her. The ruins echoed with the growls of the beasts. The storm roared, and the first clash of fate was about to begin. The storm raged above, rain sliding down the broken walls. Thunder shaking the ruins. The girl stood frozen, her hands shaking, her eyes locked on the human who had freed her. He stood tall, his back straight, his shoulders square, a blade in his hand. The stormlight flashing across steel. He did not flinch when the glowing eyes circled closer. He did not step back when claws scraped the stone. The alien tribe that had abandoned the girl had not gone far. From the safety of higher ruins they watched, their voices cruel, their laughter sharp. Fool human. One of them shouted, "You will die with her. You think you can fight the night beasts with only a knife?" Their mocking voices rose like the hiss of snakes, but the man did not turn to them. He did not answer. His focus stayed on the creatures that moved in the dark. The girl trembled, her voice weak. "They will not stop. They will not fear you. Please run before they come closer." But the man only shook his head. His jaw set, his voice steady as iron. "I do not run, not while you are here." The words stunned her. She had never heard such defiance, never felt such protection. Her people had always believed the beasts could not be fought. That sacrifice was the only answer. But this human spoke as if the monsters were nothing more than obstacles to crush. The beasts hissed, stepping closer, their shapes now clear in the lightning-twisted bodies covered in scales and scars, jaws filled with rows of sharp teeth, their eyes burning red, hunger dripping like venom from their fangs. One beast lunged, testing him, a flash of claws, a roar that shook the ruins. The man moved fast, faster than she thought possible. His blade swung, steel met flesh, and the monster shrieked, blood spraying. Across the broken stone, the beast fell back, its jaw split, its body twitching. The tribe watching from above grew silent, their laughter fading into shock. Never had they seen one of the night creatures struck down so easily. The man did not celebrate. He did not pause. His eyes scanned the shadows again, the knife steady in his grip, the stormlight catching on his wet coat. The girl's heart pounded. Her breath caught. She could not believe it. She had seen warriors with spears, warriors with fire, warriors with numbers, and still the beasts had devoured them. Yet this lone human fought with only a blade and stood unbroken. Another growl rose deeper, heavier. The ground itself seemed to shake. More shapes slithered from the darkness. Bigger, faster, hungrier. The girl whispered, "There are too many. They will not stop. You will die." The man glanced back at her. Only for a heartbeat, his eyes steady, sharp, full of something she could not name. And he said, "Then I die standing." The words struck her like a blow. Her lips parted. She felt her tears mix with rain. In that moment, she realized this human was not like anyone she had ever known. The tribe hissed with anger. Some even shouted down, "Let him die. The beasts will tear him apart." The girl was cursed, and now he shares her fate. But even as they mocked, even as the monsters circled, something shifted in the air. The man stepped forward, not back, his presence filling the ruined street like a wall, his stance a challenge, his blade a promise. The beasts paced, their eyes fixed on him, their hunger fighting with caution. Never before had prey stood unafraid. Never before had prey struck first. The girl clutched her arms tight, her fear still strong, but mixed with something new. A spark of hope, a belief she did not understand. She whispered softly, "Why, human? Why do you fight for me?" The man did not answer at once. The rain pattered. The thunder rolled. Then finally his voice cut through the storm, low but unshaken. Because someone should have, the words sank deep into her heart. Words that no one had ever spoken for her. Words that made her eyes burn with tears. The beasts roared, the storm cracked with light, and the human shifted his blade. Ready for the next strike, the girl realized then, the night would not be short. The beasts would keep coming until dawn, and this man, this human, would fight them all. The tribe above whispered in unease, their mocking fading into silence. They had never seen such defiance, never seen such courage, never seen such madness. The girl's breath caught again as another monster leaped, larger than the first, its jaws open wide to snap the human in half. The knife flashed, the human twisted. His boots slammed into the beast's chest, and the steel cut deep across its throat. The creature fell back with a choking scream, its blood mixing with the rain. The girl gasped, her body shaking. Her eyes wide with shock and awe, the human stood again, drenched in rain and blood. His blade dripping red, his chest rising and falling, but his stance unbroken. The tribe said nothing now. The beast circled, and the girl whispered one last thought, a thought that filled her heart with fire. This human is not prey. This human is the storm, and as thunder shook the heavens, the battle for the night was only beginning. The ruins shook with the cries of the dying beast, its blood spreading across the broken stone. The rain washed it into dark streams that ran between shattered walls. The girl stood frozen, staring at the man who fought like no one she had ever seen. But the night was far from over. In the shadows, more eyes glowed, red and cruel. The sound of claws scratching against stone filled the air. A dozen monsters moved closer. Their growls, louder than the storm itself. The human did not falter. He stood straight, his blade shining even in the storm's darkness. His breath heavy but steady, his eyes sharp and calm. The girl's voice trembled. "There are too many, you cannot fight them all." But the man only tightened his grip, his jaw firm, and answered, "Then I will fight until none are left." The words cut through the storm, filling her with fear and wonder. No one had ever dared to speak like that. Her people had always run, always sacrificed the weak. But this human, a stranger, faced death as if it meant nothing. The first of the new beasts lunged, its body long and twisted, its arms like spears, its jaws snapping shut with thunderous force. The man stepped forward to meet it, his blade flashing, his body moving with speed that did not belong to prey. He ducked under the strike, the knife cutting deep into the beast's side. It roared, swinging its massive tail, but the man rolled aside, his coat tearing as stone cracked under the blow. The girl gasped, clutching her chest, her heart beating so fast she could hardly breathe. Every move he made was filled with danger. Every strike could be his last, yet he moved with purpose, not wild fear, but the steady rhythm of a fighter who had faced death before. Another beast rushed in, this one smaller but faster, its claws cutting the air. The human turned. His knife met claw, sparks flew as steel scraped bone, his boots slammed into its jaw, sending it crashing into the rubble. The tribe above watched. In silence now, no more laughter, no more taunts, their eyes wide with disbelief. Never in their lives had they seen one man stand against the horrors of the night and live. The beasts circled, growling, their bodies twitching with hunger, and Rage. They were not used to prey that fought back. They were not used to prey that killed. The human stood ready, blood dripping from his blade. Rain sliding down his face, his chest rising and falling with steady breath. The girl whispered, "Who are you?" But the man did not answer. His eyes stayed on the shadows. His body tense, his spirit unbroken. Then two monsters attacked at once. Their jaws wide, their claws tearing at the air. The girl screamed, thinking this time he would fall. But the man spun, his blade cutting into the first beast's throat, while his arm raised to block the second, claws tearing across his coat. Blood splashing, but still he stood, his knife stabbing deep into the monster's chest. Both creatures collapsed. There, roars fading into silence. The man staggered, but did not fall, his hand pressing against his bleeding arm, his eyes burning with fire. The girl cried out, rushing a step closer. "You are hurt." He raised a hand, stopping her, his voice low, steady. "Stay back, it is not over." And indeed, it was not. The ground trembled as more monsters emerged, larger than before. There, shadows stretching across the ruins, their hunger stronger than fear. The tribe above began to whisper again, not in laughter, but in unease. Some even stepped back, as if afraid of the human as much as the beasts. The girl's tears mixed with rain, her heart torn between terror and awe. Never had she seen anyone fight for her. Never had she seen such will. She whispered to herself, "He cannot win, but he will not fall." The beasts roared, shaking the night. Their eyes locked on the lone human who dared to defy them. He tightened his grip on the knife, his body low and ready, his breath deep, and he spoke, not to the girl, not to the tribe, but to the monsters themselves. "Come then." The ruins echoed with the clash, claws against steel, roars against thunder. The human moved like the storm itself, striking, dodging, fighting with every ounce of his strength. The girl watched with wide eyes. Every strike, every movement burned into her mind. She realized then, this was no ordinary man. This was not prey. This was a warrior from another world. A human who carried something her people had forgotten. Hope. One beast fell, then another, their bodies piling in the rain, but more kept coming. The girl's chest tightened, her fear mixing with wonder, and as the largest of them yet stepped forward, taller than walls, its roar splitting the storm. She whispered in awe, "How long can he stand against them all?" The human lifted his blade again, blood dripping, his body shaking but his spirit unbroken, and with fire in his eyes, he stood between her and the monsters, ready for the first true clash of the night. The night grew darker, the storm louder, and the ruins shook with the endless roars of the beasts. The human still stood tall, his knife red with blood, his coat torn, his breath heavy, yet his eyes burned like fire. The girl crouched behind him, her small hands pressed to her chest, her heart pounding. She had never felt such fear. But she had also never felt such safety. For the first time in her life, someone stood between her and death. The beasts circled closer, their claws scratching against the stone, their eyes glowing red like burning coals. They growled, testing, waiting, angry that prey would dare to fight back. The man shifted his stance, his body steady, his blade raised, every muscle tense. He did not retreat, he did not bow. He faced them with the defiance of one who had seen death before and had never yielded. The girl whispered, her voice trembling, "Why do you stay? They will kill you too. You should run." The man did not turn. His voice was low but strong. "Because you are here, and I will not leave you." Her throat tightened, tears burned her eyes. No one had ever said such words to her. Her people had left her to die. They had mocked her weakness, but this human spoke as if her life mattered, as if her fear was worth his strength. Another beast lunged, its claws cutting the air. The man moved, quick as lightning, his blade slashing. Deep into its chest, the creature screamed, falling into the rubble. The others hissed, their hunger fighting with their hesitation. The girl flinched at the sound, her body shaking. She whispered again, "I was abandoned because I am weak. They said I am cursed. They said I deserve to die." The man's blade dripped with rain and blood, his stance firm, his voice steady. Weakness is not a crime. The crime is leaving you behind. Her breath caught. She pressed her hands over her mouth. She could hardly believe his words. No one had ever defended her before. No one had ever spoken against the tribe. Yet this stranger did so without fear. The beasts roared, slamming their claws against the ground. The night was full of their hunger. The ruins shook with their rage. The girl's body trembled. She pressed closer to the human's back, her voice shaking. "They will never stop. There are too many. You cannot win." The man's head tilted slightly, his eyes sharp, his jaw. "Hard humans do not fight because the battle is easy. We fight because someone must." Her tears spilled down her cheeks. She stared at him through the rain, his figure a wall against the storm. She whispered, "I do not understand you." The man's grip tightened on the knife, his shoulders broad and steady. "You will," he said. And then the next monster lunged. The fight was brutal. Claws slashed, teeth snapped, blood sprayed. The man grunted as one claw tore across his side, his coat shredded, pain flashing in his eyes. Yet he did not fall. He turned the blade, stabbing deep into the beast's throat, twisting until it collapsed in the mud. The girl cried out, "You are hurt?" The man staggered. His hand pressed against his wound, blood mixing with rain, but his voice was steady. "It will not stop me." Her chest ached. Fear and sorrow twisted inside her. She had seen men die. She had seen warriors fall. But this one, this human, stood. Like stone, refusing to break, the beasts hissed. More of them stepping from the shadows. Bigger, stronger. Their eyes burning. Their hunger endless. The tribe above whispered in fear. They had thought the human mad, but now they saw his strength. And it made them uneasy. The girl pressed her hands together, whispering through her tears, "Please, do not die for me. I am not worth this." The man's shoulders tensed, his voice deep, filled with steel. "Do not say that. Your life is worth more than their laughter, more than their cruelty. Do not ever believe you are nothing." Her breath caught, her tears fell harder. Those words struck deeper than the storm, deeper than fear. She had always been told she was useless, cursed. But this man, this stranger, told her she mattered. The beasts roared again, circling there. Hunger boiling over, they would not wait much longer. They would strike in waves until the human fell. The girl's heart trembled. She whispered to herself, "If he falls, I will be alone again. If he dies, hope dies with him." The man raised his blade again, his body bleeding, his strength tested. Yet his spirit burned brighter with every breath. The girl reached out, her trembling hand brushing against his torn coat, her voice soft but filled with desperate truth. "Please, live. Please do not leave me like the others did." For a moment, his head turned slightly, his eyes met hers, and even in the storm, even in the blood and terror, there was warmth. A strange light. "I will not leave you," he said, his voice steady, his promise clear. And in that moment, as the beasts roared and thunder cracked, the bond was sealed, not by blood, not by tribe, but by fear and defiance, by weakness and strength, standing together. The girl no longer saw herself as abandoned. Prey, she saw herself as someone worth fighting for. Because the human had chosen to fight, the night was not yet over. The monsters would not rest. But for the first time in her life, the girl felt hope. Fragile, but bright, like fire against the endless dark, and she whispered, so softly only the storm could hear, "If you will fight for me, then I will not let you fight alone." The rain poured harder, turning the ruins into rivers of mud. Thunder rolled across the sky, and the beasts circled with growing hunger, their snarls echoing through the broken walls. The girl crouched low, her eyes wide, her hands trembling, every beat of her heart louder than the storm. She had seen warriors fall before these creatures, yet the human still stood, bloody but unbroken. But his strength alone would not last. His wounds slowed him, his chest rose and fell, heavier with each breath. The monsters smelled his blood, and they grew bolder. The girl whispered, her voice breaking, "You cannot keep fighting them. You will die. Please, please run while you still can." The man glanced back at her, his eyes sharp, his voice low, but steady. "I told you, I do not run." Her tears mixed with the rain. She wanted to scream at him, to beg him again, but something in his eyes stopped her. Something unshakable. Then, to her surprise, the man moved not toward the beasts, but toward the rubble. His steps fast, his eyes scanning the ruins. He grabbed a broken beam of wood, soaked but splintered, and tore strips of cloth from his coat. He wrapped them tight, his hands moving with skill. The girl frowned, confused. "What are you doing?" The man's knife sparked against stone. Again and again, until a small flame caught on the cloth. The wind threatened to kill it, but he shielded it with his hand, feeding it until the wood roared with fire. The girl gasped, her eyes wide. "They fear fire." The man nodded once, lifting the burning torch high, his voice calm. "Everything that eats fears something," the beasts hissed, their growls faltering, their red eyes blinking at the flames. They shifted back, uneasy. The man's lips tightened, a faint smile crossing his face for the first time. "Good. Now we fight on my terms." He shoved the torch into the mud, flames burning high, then grabbed another beam, lighting it. The ruins now glowed with firelight. Shadows dancing, the girl watched in awe, her fear mixing with wonder. No one in her tribe had ever dared to bring fire against the beasts. They had always believed it useless, yet the monsters stepped back. Snarling, afraid of the light, the man's eyes scanned the ground, the broken stones, the fallen walls. His mind worked fast. Faster than she could follow, he pulled ropes from shattered banners, sharpened broken metal into spikes, set traps between the rubble. His hands moved with purpose, his breath heavy but steady. The girl whispered softly, You plan while they circle." He glanced at her, his eyes burning. Strength fights, but the mind wins. Her chest ached at his words. She realized then that he was not only strong, he was clever. Clever in ways her people had forgotten. Clever in ways that made survival more than just swinging weapons. The beasts grew restless, their hunger greater than their fear. One leaped, teeth flashing, claws cutting the air. The man sidestepped, guiding it into the trap. Its body slammed onto sharp spikes. A roar shook the ruins as it thrashed. The girl covered her mouth with shock. The others lunged in rage, but the man threw burning wood into their faces, flames roaring. They shrieked, their scales catching fire, the rain hissing as it clashed with the flames. The tribe above gasped, their whispers sharp. They had never seen such tactics, never seen prey twist the battlefield itself. The girl's body trembled, her voice soft but filled with awe. "You fight with more than hands. You fight with fire, with earth, with sky." The man's blade cut down another beast. His boot slammed into rubble, knocking another into a pit he had carved, his voice steady, even through blood and pain. "You survive with whatever you have, or you die." The girl clutched her chest, her tears falling. She whispered, My people never taught me that. They only taught me to run, to hide, to abandon. The man's jaw tightened, his eyes locked on hers for a brief heartbeat. Then learn now, because running will not save. You, fighting will. Her breath caught. Those words sank into her heart like fire. The beasts roared louder, furious at the traps, furious at the flames. Their numbers still many, but their movements less certain. The girl saw something she had never seen before, not just a man fighting monsters, but a man changing the fight itself. Bending the night to his will, one beast leaped again, but the man lit another beam, shoving it straight into its jaws. Fire roared across its head. The creature shrieked and stumbled back, smoke rising. The tribe above was silent now, their laughter gone. Their mockery dead, they could only watch in fear and awe as the human turned the ruins into a battlefield. The girl's lips trembled, her voice soft but clear. You are not prey. You are a hunter. The man said nothing. His blade flashed. Another beast fell, his body shaking, his blood dripping, yet his eyes never dimmed. The girl's chest swelled with something she could not explain. Fear mixed with hope, sorrow mixed with pride. She whispered, "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you can win." The man glanced at her once, his lips tight, his voice calm. "I do not need to win. I only need to stand until the dawn." Her eyes widened. Her tears froze. Those words struck deeper than any blade. He was not fighting for glory. Not for himself, but only for her survival. The firelight flickered. The rain hissed. The beasts roared again, and the girl realized this was the turning point. The monsters still came, but the balance had shifted. The human had shown them fear. The human had shown them fire. The human had shown them defiance. And for the first time, the girl believed that maybe, just maybe, they would see the morning together. Asterisk, the firelight flickered across the ruins. Broken walls glowed in red and gold. Smoke hissed against the pouring rain. The beasts circled, but slower now, their eyes wary, their growls uncertain. Several of their kind already lay dead. Their blood, black against the stones, their bodies broken by blade and fire. The girl trembled as she stared at them. She could not believe what she was seeing. A single human standing where whole warriors had fallen. But the night was not finished. The air grew heavier. The ground shook. A new sound rose above the storm, deeper, darker. A roar that rattled the ruins like thunder. The girl's heart froze. Her breath caught. Her people had whispered of this beast, the largest of them all, the king of the night hunters. The devourer that no tribe dared to face. From the shadows it came, larger than any wall. Its back spiked with jagged bone, its claws as long as spears. Its mouth filled with teeth like swords. Glowing eyes burned like twin suns in the storm. The tribe above gasped. Even they drew back in fear. No longer mocking, no longer laughing, for they knew this monster could wipe out armies. The girl clutched her chest, her voice shaking. "No, not this one, not him. You cannot fight him. No one ever has." The human stood silent, his knife in one hand, a burning torch in the other, his body bleeding, his coat torn, yet his stance unbroken. The beast roared again. The ruins trembled. Broken stones fell from shattered towers. Lightning lit the sky, and for a moment the girl thought the storm itself bowed to the monster. The human stepped forward, placing himself between her and the towering creature. His voice calm, though his chest heaved with pain. "If I run, he follows. If I fight, you live." Her throat tightened. Her tears fell hot against the rain. "You will die?" she whispered, her voice breaking. His eyes burned as he glanced at her. His words steady. "Then I will die standing." The beast charged, claws smashing through rubble, jaws snapping like thunder. The ground shook with each step. The girl screamed, covering her ears, her heart racing so hard it hurt. The man moved. His body fast, despite his wounds. He rolled aside. His torch slammed against the beast's face. Flames burst across its scales. The monster roared, blinded. For a moment, but its tail swung, smashing into the ground. Stone shattered. The man flew against a wall, his body slamming hard. Blood spilling from his mouth. The girl screamed louder. "No, no, get up, please get up." The human groaned, forcing himself to his knees, his knife still in his hand, his body shaking, every breath heavy. But his spirit unbroken. The beast charged again. Its massive claw raised to crush him. The girl ran forward without thinking, small hands grabbing a burning beam. She lifted it with all her strength, her voice shaking. Over here, the beast turned. Its glowing eyes fixing on her, its roar splitting the storm. The human's heart jolted. His eyes wide, he shouted through blood, "No, stay back." But she did not move. Her hands shook, but she held the fire high, her voice trembling but defiant. "If you fight for me, then I will not hide. I will not let you fight alone." For a brief moment, the monster hesitated, its eyes flicking between prey that ran and prey that burned with fire. The human used that moment, pushing himself to his feet, his knife tight. His body broken, but his will like iron, he charged. His boots pounding against the broken stone. With a roar, he leaped. His blade driving deep into the beast's neck. Sparks flew, blood sprayed hot and black. The monster shrieked, shaking its massive head, throwing him side to side. The girl screamed his name, though she had never known it, her tears streaming. Her torch waving as she cried, "Hold on, please, hold on." The beast slammed him into the ground, rubble cracking. Pain shot through his body. Yet he did not let go. His knife twisted deeper, his jaw clenched. With one last cry, he drove the blade into the creature's throat. Ripping across, blood poured like rivers. The monster staggered, its massive body shaking, its roars fading into silence. Finally, it crashed into the ruins. Stone collapsing under its weight, the earth itself trembling. The human fell to his knees, gasping, covered in blood and rain. His knife slick, his coat shredded. The girl rushed to him, falling beside him, her small hands shaking as she touched his shoulder, her tears falling. "You did it, you killed it, but you are hurt. You are bleeding so much." The man coughed, his lips red, but his eyes still burned. His voice low but firm. "I told you, I would not leave you." Her heart broke, her tears ran freely. She pressed her forehead against his chest, her voice weak. "You should not have done this for me." His hand, trembling but gentle, rested on her head. Someone had to. The storm raged on, but the battlefield was silent. The greatest of the night monsters lay dead. The tribe above stared in shock. Their laughter gone, their cruelty silenced. The girl clung to him, her tears falling. Her heart full of something she had never felt before, hope. The human sat bleeding, broken, but alive, and the night, though not yet over, had shifted. The beasts had lost their king. And the girl realized the truth. This man had stood alone against the darkness, and the darkness had fallen. The battlefield lay silent. The rain still fell, but the roars of the monsters were gone. The largest of them lay broken, its massive body filling the ruins. Smoke and blood mixing in the storm. The girl knelt beside the human, her small hands trembling as she tried to stop his bleeding. Her tears mixing with rain, her voice shaking. "You cannot die, not now. Not after you fought them all." The man coughed, his chest rising and falling heavy, but his eyes still burned with life. His voice low but firm. "I will not die tonight. The Tribe above crept down, their laughter gone, their mockery turned into silence. They stared at the broken bodies of the beasts. Their eyes wide, their steps slow for the first time. They looked not at the girl with disgust, but at the human with fear and awe. One of the elders whispered, his voice hollow, "It cannot be. No one can kill the king of the night hunters. No one," another muttered. "This human. He should be dead, yet he stands. He stands where all of us would fall." The girl looked up at them, her tears burning, anger flashing in her chest. These were the ones who had tied her down, who had called her cursed, who had abandoned her. To be eaten, now they stood silent, ashamed. Her voice rose, trembling but strong. "You left me to die. You laughed at me. You said I was nothing, but he. He stood, he fought, he bled, and he did not leave me." The tribe lowered their heads, some with guilt, some with shame, others with fear, but none spoke. The man groaned, trying to rise, his body weak, his coat torn, but still he pushed to his feet, his knife in his hand, his eyes burning with defiance. He stood not as prey, but as a conqueror. The girl reached up, holding his arm to steady him. Her heart pounding, "Please, rest, you have done enough." But he shook his head, his voice steady even in pain. "It is not enough until you are safe." The tribe's leader finally stepped forward, his face twisted with unease. "Human, you are strong. You have slain what none of us could. You may take reward, food, shelter, even slaves if you wish." The man's eyes turned sharp, his jaw hard, his voice like steel. "I want nothing from you." The girl's heart swelled, her tears hot. She looked at him in awe. He had every right to demand anything. Yet he refused. He wanted no riches, no power, only her safety. The tribe murmured, confused, unsettled. Their eyes shifting to the girl, some whispering, she was cursed, yet he saved her. Maybe she is not cursed after all. But the girl's gaze hardened, her small hands clenched. She turned to them and spoke, her voice clear, "I will not return to you. You left me. You betrayed me. I will not walk with you again." Gasps rippled through the tribe. Some shouted in protest. Others stayed silent. Her words struck them like thunder. The man glanced at her, his eyes calm, his voice low. "Are you certain?" She met his gaze, her tears falling, but her heart steady. "Yes, if you will walk, I will walk with you, wherever you go." His lips tightened, a faint nod. He reached down and helped her to her feet, her small hand fitting into his, her eyes shining with both fear and hope. The tribe watched in silence, powerless, ashamed, as the human turned away. As the girl followed him into the storm, the ruins lay behind them, the bodies of monsters broken. The laughter of the tribe dead, ahead stretched the unknown. A path through rain and thunder, but also a path of freedom. The girl glanced at him as they walked, her voice soft, but filled with gratitude. "Why did you do this? Why did you fight for me when no one else would?" The man's eyes stayed on the path ahead, his voice steady, "Because someone had to. And because you are worth more than they ever believed." Her chest ached, her tears fell again. But this time they were not only of sorrow, they were of hope. The storm began to fade. The sky slowly brightened, dawn breaking through the clouds, golden light spilling across the ruined world. The girl whispered, her voice trembling with wonder, "We lived. We truly lived through the night." The man nodded, his steps steady, though his body weak. "The night is over, but the journey is not. There will be more storms, more monsters, more battles. But you will not face them alone." Her heart filled with warmth, her steps lighter. She held his arm tighter. "Then I will not leave you. I will stay, no matter what comes." And so they walked together into the rising sun, a human and an alien girl, not as prey and protector, not as cursed and savior, but as companions bound by survival, by hope, and by a promise stronger than fear. Behind them lay the ruins of cruelty. Before them stretched the unknown, and the story closed with the image of two figures against the dawn, walking into legend.